childhood and upbringing? Just some background so I know something about it.
Okay, I come from a very large family.
Uh-huh.
I was born on a migrant stream in Virginia. The year that I was born was a potato season. My father came back and he decided after that he wouldn't take us back up on the season again because it was so bad. My parents are very strong disciplinarian, very close Christians, close family knit. My father worked hard all of his life. Always wanted the best for us. He really loved his children. That was we were his life. I can remember from a little child, him coming in a lot of nights from work and not having nothing to eat, but he wanted us to eat and make sure we had something to eat. It's 10 children that my mother and dad had together, but they raised 13. 2 foster children and my cousin. Wow. And every Sunday morning, we would have what we call a family altar, where we would have prayer in the house before we would go to church or go anywhere. That was a day that we set aside. That was the only day that we didn't go to work, was on a Sunday. But after school and on weekends or holidays, we had to work. It was 3 boys and 7 girls, and I'm the 3rd oldest.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in the Glades area, and when a dike busted or something, and we had a real bad flood, we moved from that area here, and I've been here since '47.
Oh,
And the town has changed completely. It used to be just poor people that knew everybody, and everybody sort of looked out for everybody. My dad had a thing that if it was just certain people we could be with, we could not go and play like kids go play to each other's houses, so we were not allowed to do that. It was only certain children that were allowed to come to our house, and we had certain times that we could play or whatever. I can remember going to school and everybody had to line up to tell what happened in class, what the teacher did, what was said, what you learned, where were your paper and all this stuff. And he would do it, and he was working railroad at this time. How he did that, I don't know. He believed in being the head of his house, and he was. He put God first, and then him. And all my mom had to say was, "I'm going to tell your daddy that did it." We just knew it, to get in line or whatever.
Yeah.
But we all worked hard. Whatever we did it together and as a family. So when I married and started having children, the same things that I was taught and the things that was done with me, I carried it through my children. I can remember some of the ladies in the community would have babies, and we would have to go and take care of that house for that woman. We'd have to wash, take care of the children and everything, then finish and come back home and do our work, and we could not accept a penny. Whatever had to be done, and we'd have to do it. The boys had a part that they had to play, and the girls had their part. We mainly had to do the washing, taking care of the kids, and taking care of this lady, and making sure food was done, and all this. And
so there was a real tight community here.
Yeah.
Did most of the people do agricultural work?
Yes, everybody was doing agricultural work. That was all to do.
But your father must have been lucky, though.
He got on the railroad. Yeah. It was a section here, and a few guys did work on the railroad. But I think that's what settled this town was the railroad when it came through.
Yeah.
Had sawmills and the railroad. But then a lot of farming came. It was in the 50s, late 50s, before a lot of citrus came this way, and that was because of the freeze farther up north.
So when you initially came here, it was more kind of a
it was just
railroad
farming
town and some farming.
It was a lot of farming. We used to do tobacco and beans and tomatoes. We used to grow the plants, and we'd pack them and ship them up North Carolina.
That's right. I didn't know that.
And pretty. And look at these muscles. Okay, and then all kind of like potatoes, white potatoes, and peas, and lima beans, and peanuts, and gladiolas, flowers. Just all kinds of stuff was grown here.
Yeah.
It was a real farming town.
Who owned the farms? Were they local people? people?
Local people on them. A. Duda came here in 50, I think 56, 57, somewhere like that. And they were here like 2 or 3 years, and they moved on to the Glades. But they were the largest ones that came, that was here for a while. Most of it was local growers. And
so this was kind of truck, what you call
yes,
truck farming.
yeah.
That fresh vegetables and stuff like
Then
that.
when we were not working here, we worked on the Glades. We would go down there working. Basically,
what would grow down there? Would that be the same
cane,
stuff?
corn, and beans and celery.
So they're somewhat different crops.
Yeah.
So they would harvest.
Cane wasn't the thing like it is now. It's king now, but it was not king then.
Is that right?
It was string beans and celery and corn. That was the crop then.
What about school and stuff? Did you go to?
That was a thing that my father insisted that every one of us would finish school. All 13 finished school. My brother and myself and one foster girl was the only one that did not go to college. Everybody went to college, a trade school. His thing was they could cut off your hands, your legs, and punch out your eyes, but they couldn't destroy your brain and your knowledge if it was there. And he wanted to make sure that we got an education, so we had to. And it was important that we would read to him, tell him what we did in school that day, what the teacher did, what was said, how it was said, and how we did it. And we would have like little, we would call them little contests, where he would call you a series of numbers out. And sometimes it would be like a row of numbers, 3 and 4 across and 15 down. And you couldn't count your fingers or nothing. You had to do 3, 6, 9, 18, whatever it was, all the way up. And the one that, not that we were getting no prize, no money or nothing, but just seeing him excited and just making him happy, made us happy. And we used to do that, and spelling words, have little spelling contests and stuff like that. We didn't have TV, so we had to entertain ourselves and have little games and things that we could
reinforce that with each other. That's
yeah. And I can remember when we were in high school, we had to go to school in Stewart. We didn't have a high school out here. And my father went to the superintendent and asked him could he keep us out for a week to work so that we could get clothes and things, and all the kids could have clothes. So it was getting cool, and we didn't have appropriate clothes and sweaters and things. And the superintendent asked him if he would not keep us out, because he said they are such good students, and I wouldn't want you to take them out of school. He said, if we could help you get the things you need, the clothes or shirts or sweaters or whatever, would you keep them in school? And my dad said, well, if you would give them permission to work, we could get it ourselves. He said, but the week that you're going to be out, they're going to miss something. And he said, if you just promise me you won't take them out, I see that you get those things. So then he promised them that we would get, they would get us those things. And but he told us that that was something that he didn't like. It was like somebody giving you something, and he said, the Lord has blessed you with your health and strength, and we can work and get the things we need. He said, but to keep you in school and make sure that you go, we're gonna go and get whatever they want for us. And we went that morning to get it, and right after we got back, we went straight to the field. We thought that was one day we wasn't going to work. But, he always said, when you need something, you have to work for it. And if you didn't have it, do without it. If you didn't have it, you really didn't have to have it. And if you only had bread and water, nobody knew you had bread and water but you. So don't discuss it and ask people for favors and different things, because a lot of people was not able to help you, and some were able to help you, but they wouldn't care to. And he'd always tell us, say, any game you want to play, it's enough of you all here to play it, so I don't want you. We had a fence around our yard, so we couldn't go out of that fence. And he would say, when one is up, all is up. When one is down, all is down. Find out what's wrong with that one that's down, and bring the other one up. Don't sit around and see one in suffering, one hurting, and you don't do something about it. If you don't do nothing about it, then something is wrong. We don't operate like that. And that was his philosophy, his way of doing things. And we just, a lot of things that we learn. I don't think as a day go by that I don't talk about it. He passed in 83. My mom is still living, but he was the force behind the family.
seemed he had a really strong concept of
Yes,
what he was trying to do.
Yes. And, you know, when I look back on it now and when I look at this, what's happening, I can see why now. But he had such vision and such wisdom that I don't know.
Well, it sounds like he transmitted a lot of that to you. I mean, you seem like you've got a lot of that in you.
Oh, I would hope so. I can remember when we were in high school, he would take us to games in Stewart. Now, he'd worked on that railroad all day. And he would take us, we might go like once every other week or something to a game. We were so excited. He would sit in the car and sleep until that game was over, and sometimes they'd have a little dance after. And we said, Daddy, could we stay like for 30 more minutes to the dance? And he said, yeah, I think so. And we'd go back around there. Sometimes it'd be longer than that. We'd come back to the car and wake him up. He was asleep. And then sometimes we had a Dairy Queen over there. It would be open on our way back home. And he said, I think we might stop and get some ice cream over. Oh, that was a treat. Daddy, you think we can? He said, oh, yeah, we're going to stop and get us ice cream.
Yeah.
Oh, I can remember that as though it was yesterday. It was, it made such an impact. We didn't have a lot of money and a lot of material stuff, but he taught us to be grateful and appreciate the things that we had. And I tried to instill that in my family and in my children. I have 6 children. And I have the most out of everybody, like, and everybody got 2 or 3 or whatever. But I'm grateful for the things that I learned from him. He always taught us to volunteer and help others, and I think that came from that. He'd always be giving, and I hear a lot of these older women saying, now, if Brother Orange was living, you see all these weeds around my doors? I wouldn't have this, and my step broke. He would not allow it. He would go from one to the other. He would, and ask what they needed, you know, what could he help them do after he retired. He'd do the yards, or fix their sinks, or fix their whatever, and wouldn't allow them to pay him. And they said, but it's nobody like that around here now. I said, but if he was living, my steps wouldn't look like this. But he taught a lot of that. He said Jesus' disciples were the first volunteers. Yeah. And he didn't promise them money or nothing. He said, just come follow me. Right. And he said, when you give, it'll be given back to you. Somewhere you get it. Don't worry about it. Just do good. He always told us that. But in growing up and being around here from a child up, you saw a lot of things that you liked and you saw a lot of things that you didn't like. And the only way you could make a difference was that you take a part. And
when did you start doing that, you think, aside? I mean, you always helping people individually as you're going. When did you start seeing the need to kind of work with other people to do some of the things like you're still doing today? Was there a point in your life when you...
When I had 3 children, my first 3 children, we didn't have a daycare center and a kindergarten or nothing. And I can remember, and I'm in my 50s, I can remember when we lived in a farm worker village on the Glades, and we had a kindergarten. It's based on the concept of this building right here. I helped design this building. The big halls, we'd play and run down the halls. That's where I ate my first raw carrot. And every child had an animal that they recognized. Everything you owned personally had an animal on it. It was yours, and that was your animal. And
so you went to this daycare center like that yourself?
And that's
who ran that?
I really don't know if it was a federal program or what it was, but I can remember that as though it was last week. Yeah. And I remember having to be the teachers would twist the sheet up and pop us when we keep playing and wouldn't go to sleep. And I remember that. Now it's abuse. But I remember I'd cry and go to sleep. But I'd hold my head down under my cot, and me and another girl we would play games under the cots to keep from sleeping. And but I can remember riding the tricycles and sitting down to lunch and saying grace and doing the pledge of the flag and doing the nursery rhymes, and I don't want to break up. But and I know it had an impact on my life. So when my children were small and it was not one here, I opened up one myself.
You did. So that's how you got started. And
I was charging $25 a day.
So were you just doing this at your house, at your home?
No, I used an old church, and that's what I did it in. And I had materials and stuff built and made, and okay, and it's odd now, and it does something to me when I've learned, that to use Play-Doh here with these kids and what it does. And that was the first thing I got. That was the first thing. And I read back over some of that stuff I did. That was the first thing we had to play with was Play-Doh. And now it's a stress reliever. It relieves tension, and it helps you be creative, and it does so many things. And it does your gross motor and your fine motor. And I didn't know nothing about that at that time, but
you just knew it worked.
Yeah, and it was fun, But now I learned a lot of other stuff about it. But
so when was this you started off in this little church?
Must have been in. Let's see, Jackie was born in '59. Must have been like 60, 61, 62, somewhere in there.
And so you just did it on you're just charging.
Yeah, and a lot of times people didn't pay because they couldn't afford to pay me a quarter, and it was just a half day because I couldn't provide the meals.
So they would just come in the morning and then have to
stay till lunchtime, and then I tried to get them back to the ladies that were keeping them because they had other kids and couldn't leave the kids to come and get that one or two that I had, so I had to take them back, and we'd walk them back. I'd walk them back too.
And then how did this expand over the years? And what you have now?
I just, as I looked into the, what we had and we didn't have, I stopped it after about a year because I couldn't afford to keep doing it.
Yeah.
I saw the need for it, and I knew how important it was. So that Alpha program that's over there, I got on their boards. They needed board members, and I got on their boards to try to get some centers here. And they were having them all over the place. I said, they can have them all out in the woods and everywhere. I said, we should be able to have at least one. So then I just started going to their meetings. Sometimes I'd be in Orlando, Winter Haven. Sometimes 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning I'd be coming back by myself. I'd attended their board meeting, to impress upon them how bad we needed a center.
Yeah. And what organization was this?
It's the Agriculture and Labor Program. It's in Winter Haven. It's based in Winter Haven.
Yeah, I don't know that.
They have 2 centers in there, and one center over there is named after me.
Thelma
Waters Infant Care Center. Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
And I knew how important it was, but I've always been in social work or daycare.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's like a part of your life,
Yeah. How important is this organization, this center, for the children around here? I mean, what do you think it does and accomplishes, and why is it important?
Oh, that's the subject of the year. I could talk about that for months. Oh,
Just a few short things.
It's a great program. I wish it was a program that would identify with all children, because when you're in a poor area like this, so many things you don't get, so many things you don't have, and you're not exposed to it. With our children, we can afford to take them on field trips because we have a bus. We take care of all their medical, all their dental, all their physical needs. We do parent involvement, and we do training for parents. We do training for the staff. They have a beautiful career development plan that enables you to help yourself as you work, to take classes, and they pay you for classes. They pay you buy your books, and they help you do a lot of things that otherwise you wouldn't be able to do. Some trainings we attend, we use the bus to go to the trainings on Saturdays.
Oh, you do? So you take your staff?
Yes, the staff go. And then we have 4 in-service days where we bring in different presenters to come in and provide some training to us. And then in turn, the workers learn things themselves, and they take it to their families. And then when the parents come in and ask certain things, or the people in the community ask certain questions, a lot of times we've had that training, we can help them. So it's not just, it doesn't stop right here. It's an ongoing thing. So I think it helps a lot. And this would be our last year here in this building. We have to move.
Wow.
Because we don't service the people in this community here. We're a migrant program, and this is a farm worker community. And this building has to serve the farm workers that live here. We can't service them because they're not migrants. So now we're trying to find a place. We don't have a place. We won't. We've been here since '83.
And you're going to have to move.
Yes, we have to move.
These are federal regulations or something that you're...
Well, this is Farmers Home regulations.
Yeah. Oh, I
and
see.
they're the lending agency that made the loan possible for this project. So, but I think a lot of my work and my education and my awareness, I have to go back to American Friends Service Committee. They were the first.
How did you get in touch with them?
I lost a child in '67. And all my other kids were in school, so I said, I'm going back to school or do something like this. I was devastated because I'd lost him, and I was just lost, and it's too much time being by myself. So I said I was going to go back to school, and it was a lady around looking for a person to work as a family planning person or a social worker. And so she saw my mom, or she met my mom, and then my mom told her that she thought I might be interested in something like that. So she came and talked to me, and she said, "You are the perfect person." She said, "I'm not looking anymore." She said, "You know, I've been in this town looking for 2 weeks, and I couldn't find nobody." She said, "You are the person. So you have a job. You want this job?" And she just explained to me what the job was, and I said, "Well, I tried." She said, "No, you can do it." She said, "You are the person." And that's when I first really got started.
So what did they have? What were they?
I had to go to Lake Worth every morning. That was where the office was. And I started in family planning, and I would have to work with the women in Okeechobee. And I would transport the women from Okeechobee to Pahokee to family planning clinics because Okeechobee didn't have any. And then during the other days, I would do training, education to the parents that was home. And I think maybe a year after I'd started, Jim Upchurch came into the office as a housing specialist. And at that time, I had the only CBS house in this town, only block house. And I was so interested in him as a housing person and how bad we needed housing, till I started getting out of family planning and pushing it aside, spending time talking to Jim, trying to get him to come up here. So you got to see it, Jim. You got to come up there. We need housing so bad, you know. I went on and on about that, and he said, I came in one morning, he said, "We go in and look at housing in your area." And Bill Chandler was the director of the program. He said, "Well, when did you stop doing family planning?" I said, "Oh, Bill, that's important too." I said, "But we need housing so bad." So then we started. I brought him over, and he just couldn't believe. And we started at that time. That's when we started doing housing here. And that was must have been 69, 68, 69.
So did you get some federal?
We got Farmers Home money. We first had to sue Farmers Home and get the supervisor that was in there out, and he was replaced. We carried all the way to Washington, and we won the case. And then we got him out and got another person in there, and we started building houses. So
they finally, they would loan you the money and you could sit. Did you have to develop some kind of a corporation or something?
Yeah, we did. We had a board. We devised a board, and then we had our bylaws and everything. We followed that thing to the T. And then we applied for money to build houses, and we did. We first started building wherever the water and sewer lines were. We had to follow it wherever and try to get the lots, and we did that. And then if we had lots that were bigger, where they could have septic tanks, then we did that. But we tried to put most of them, because the lots were small, on water and sewer, and we were able to do that.
Who would be the people that would? How would people then get into the houses or buy them?
Okay.
Would you find a person first?
Once we did that, then I set up like a little office where they would come to me if they had a lot. A lot of them had lots and things, but they wasn't able to build nothing on it. And then we just did all the paperwork and everything for them, carried them wherever they need to go, and processed the whole thing. And then we carried it as a package. The Farmers Home, all they had to do was review everything that was in there and either say yes or no. Nobody that we carried down was not eligible. Everybody was ready. And that's how we got started. And then we built an extension on 6th Street with 16 houses, and then we built New Hope. And then Jim Upchurch left. But he left the organization here, and he said, "You need to form a local group and continue with the building." So that's what we did. we stopped for a while because people were not interested. You couldn't motivate them anymore. You know, it was like the leader's not here, so we don't know what to do and how to do it. And it was nobody there, no money to package and do all this stuff. You needed somebody.
Yeah.
But Florida Nonprofit and Sebring helped us out a lot. So that was some of the things we did too. We used them, and we still use them for what we're doing now. Not as much, but we do.
So this New Hope community is actually built with FHA.
Yes, for
money.
us, yeah.
And then did you get there's a health clinic here, or there's one in Indiantown?
It's one here, yeah.
In
Not in New Hope, it's one here in Indiantown.
Oh,
We didn't have no kind of health facility here. You didn't clock in. We had no health facility, and children were dying from being choked with worms and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So Bill called me one night. He said they're having a meeting in West Palm Beach, and some federal people are coming down talking about the health issues. He said, you should get a load of people from Indiantown and come over and do a presentation. That was in '72 because I was pregnant that time. And I was able to get 2 or 3 people to go, but I couldn't get none of them to go down and make a presentation. And I was so big, I didn't want to go. You have to go down, and everybody's looking right down on you.
Yeah.
I said, oh, I don't want to go down there. So after they were asking questions about, they had responses from this county, because we had one health director, he was over 3 counties. And they were saying so much is happening in the Indiantown area, they would like for somebody that knew what was going on to really come out and say something about what was going on. And I couldn't get them to say something. I said, I got to say something. So I got it and went down there, and I just told them how bad it was. And, when I finished, I was just in tears because I was pouring my heart into it because it was just true stuff. And they were saying, we don't know that Nia Miller was the health director. He said, well, I don't know that lady. I don't know where she's from, but everything she's told you is true. And some of the stuff I don't even know. But it sounds like a lot of stuff that we've been getting from there. So the 2 doctors that was on that team came to me, and they said, Ms. Waters, we don't promise you a clinic this year. I said, but we promise you next year you'll have a satellite clinic in your area. And then FSC had left, so then I started working with them. They needed somebody to work with them, so I started. Then they started sending me in the FAU to classes. I started going down there.
Oh, is that right?
That was in 73, 74. I had stopped to have my baby. And then when I got ready to go back, AFSC had lost some of their funds. And then I was intrigued with this clinic idea, so then I wanted to try that. That's when I'm going to leave you guys a while. I'm going to work with this clinic. So that's what I did, and then we got a clinic.
So they opened a satellite clinic
Yes,
up here?
We first started, we had just one part of that building, maybe 3 or 4 rooms. And now we have
this building I passed on the
yes,
on the way.
And now they have the whole building.
And so does that mostly serves people around
That
here?
serve anybody, because it's before Costa came, we didn't have anybody else. Okay. Good luck on Sunday. See you Monday. So it's been from one thing to the other.
Yeah, you sound like you've done a little bit of everything with all of this.
But it's when you see what can happen if you really hang in there long enough. It does encourage you to keep trying. I can remember when we were trying to build on those 50 by 100 lots, the county would not give us, would not see it necessary. They wouldn't allow us to do it. We had to go through and get another zone and all of this stuff. So one day we just got a load of people that just came in from work. We'd ask them if they would go because we're trying to get some housing. They help us. And we fill the commissioner's chambers up with these people just coming in from work. And they were loud and singing and nasty. I was telling the staff about the other day. They had us on the end of the agenda. We ended up being on top. They approved everything.
Get rid of you.
But we got it.
That's great.
Yes, it's totally different now than what it used to be. It's not a community anymore.
Indiantown.
No.
It's gotten so big.
No, just the Booker Park area itself is not a community.
Oh.
There's so many people and there's so many renters until nobody really seems to have a sense of community anymore. And that's really lost. It's sad. But
why is that, do you think?
because most of the homeowners don't live here anymore. Most of the people that live here are renters. They're renting.
Yeah.
So they're here and they move from place to place, and they really don't have a lot of community. It's not that I'm going to attend this meeting to get this done or get that done. You know, I'm just trying to survive and do whatever. And it's the older ones that were here are dying off. The ones that did own homes, they're leaving the area. So it's like a running stream. All the good stuff runs off, and that that's no good goes to the bottom, and that that's on the bottom, it tend to get so thick that it gravitates the other stuff. So that's the kind of that's what's happening. But I raised all my children here, my husband and I, and I had 7. I have 6 right now. 1 boy and 5 girls, and all of us was raised here.
People leaving here for better job, going elsewhere for better jobs and stuff. Is that
better living in housing situation and stuff? More of a sense of community and something to come back in and feel proud. Jim visited me about 2 years ago, and he just was shocked. He said, "Thelma, it looks worse now than it did when."
Is that right?
When and it does. Really does.
Are there good jobs around here? There are not really enough good jobs to give people a kind of stability and enough income. Is that one problem?
It is.
You think?
It is, but you have to have the skills and stuff. Now you got such a mixed community. It's more Guatemalans living in Booker Park than there's blacks or Mexicans or anybody.
Is that right?
And all of them are renting.
Yeah.
And then they're piled in a house, and there's so many of them in there. It's just no sense of community no more. You know, and it's going to take them a while to get where they know what community is and how it works and whatever. So you're in a transition. You know, so it's going to, when they learn and know, they'll do. But, they don't know, so that's where it's at.
What kind of mixture you have here at the daycare?
It's 60% Guatemalan, 40% Mexican. That's it.
So the black children don't even
No.
come to school. Do they go somewhere else? Or
They can go to the other center. They can go to the Y. But see, and that puts me in a bad position here. It's like I'm not helping my own people. All I care about is these migrants that come in and tear up, mess up, and then they're gone. And then we're here to have to try to fix up and do whatever. So you don't have the community support for migrant programs. And that's kind of
Even
sad.
within the local communities here. Do they see those people as kind of competitors?
Yeah, they say they get everything free, and that's all I help. And one minister here told me that what I was doing wasn't really I wasn't doing nothing to help the community, because these people are really not a part of the community. So it's
a vicious circle.
Yeah, it is.